they? But I mean, to me, it seems crazy that they're doing it. Actually, you know, Macau is suffering at the moment economically, and that news would have gone around the world. Actually, that what happened, that those 2 legislators and 3 activists were stopped from going there, and it does make an impact. It makes people think, okay, Macau is changing. It's no longer free. It's part. You know, it's not. It's part of mainland China, and it's no longer governed under a different system from mainland China, and so on, and that is, to me, in terms of business sense, it makes
very bad
sense, I think. And so on. I mean, what do you think? Any thoughts on that? You two? That we've got 2 Kenneths sitting next to each other. I'm going to get confused calling one of you Ken, one of you Kenneth.
Yeah, I'm Ken.
I'm Kenneth.
You can recognize our voice. A little bit different. About the Macau government, I think they are actually, you know, quite familiar with how the Macau people react and what they do in their usual life. They are more bureaucratic than any Chinese kind of community, and the way they do it, because they are afraid to take any responsibility. Because somebody told me that during the 80s and the 90s, there was a guy kidnapped by the China police from Macau to China and never came back again. So that's why some of them would say that they don't want to take any responsibility, and they afraid in the first place that anything could happen, you know, before or after the Article 23. And this year their CEO in the Macau, they are going to change. They're going to change the CEO, and they just don't want anything that imaginary could be happen. So that's why they've done that. But this time, you know, they were in deep shit in the past 2 weeks that everybody were blaming them. So they give you a show, yeah. I think they are doing quite well, aren't they?
Yeah.
And make the Democratic Party become a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Macau is quite different to Hong Kong, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of the
democratic culture.
Yeah, and I mean, it's disappointing, to be honest, that the security law has been so easily accepted and so on in Macau without any big hoo-ha about it. But in terms of this incident that happened, in terms of the immigration, the legislators going over there, in terms of the strategy, I think it's quite interesting. It's quite of a new strategy that the pro-democratic legislators have kind of introduced, the idea of confrontation, if you like, to, you know, getting over there and testing to see if they will actually be allowed through or not.
I'm of the opinion that actually in this sense, because the Macau government is barring long hair and other powerful activists from entering, but allowing the docile ones in. Actually, the whole saga becomes a kind of peacemaking mission or window dressing mission for the Macau government. And these Democrats who are allowed through, inadvertently, they are prey into the Macau authorities' hand. That means if they are really they are true to their democratic principle, they should say that we go as a group. If you don't allow any one of us to go, who have not contravened any Macau law, right? And have no criminal record whatsoever in Hong Kong, you should not. Our whole group should not go. Right? This is a kind of principle stand for a democratic group to go into Macau. Now they allow some of you to go, and some they disallow to go, and these guys still go into Macau. This is actually becoming a kind of a puppet for the Macau government to show off. So this is, in a sense, scandalous and lousy.
And it's especially a concern that they've stopped a journalist and an academic. It's not just political people. It's not just political activists or legislators. It's actually academics and a journalist from the South China Morning Post they stopped. And that's a real concern, I would say.
Yes.
And hopefully, you know, that whole fight will continue, and that they'll, you know, because it affects Hong Kong actually.
Now that because these so-called docile people has been allowed through, so in the future, those our scholars, those our journalists will be allowed it. But it set a very bad precedent that anyone who are suspected scholars and suspected journalists, right, will be decided again, and then without causing any uproar. Now, so this is from a political perspective is very bad, because actually now it's Macau which is dependent on Hong Kong more than we depend on them. The stream of Hong Kong people going to Macau is their lifeblood, because they will gamble there, they will play prostitute there, everything, right? But then if you disallow some of us going, if we have a massive movement of discouraging people to Macau, Macau will wither. So actually now Macau, Ken is right, Macau is in deep shit now. So what is certainly right for Hong Kong people to do is we protest. If you don't allow any one of us to go, we won't go. Now we are giving in. This whole pan-democratic front is giving in, right? Oh, you disallow them to go. Okay, bye. Happy New Year. And then we go and have a good time. This is shit.
It's not about Article 23. Yeah. So maybe Hong Kong people is more aware. They have to aware more about the freedom of speech. So today we are going to talk about internet, radio, and
we are. Moving on. Yeah, I think moving on.
Move on.
Yeah, we want to ask our special guest Kenneth Lee a bit. So perhaps Kenneth, tell us a bit about your research, what you're doing to do with the internet, radio, and so on.
Well, basically, my research in my university is actually writing about the freedom of speech in the internet and how it relates to the structure of mass media in Hong Kong. And basically, what I think it's the media structure in Hong Kong just doesn't provide enough platform for people to express their opinions. So that's why I think that internet is basically a tool or a platform that allows everyone to participate and express their opinions, especially in terms of politics. And I'm writing about the internet is actually having a big influence on how people think, especially on teenagers, because it's mainly teenagers using the internet, and they actually get their main information from the internet. And I think that the main part of my senior thesis in my university right now.
Because obviously, I mean, that's quite a new phenomenon, isn't it? The fact that it's young people using the internet for that, and because obviously when I grew up, there was nothing, the internet didn't exist and so on.
Right.
It's interesting to see how that will affect actually, as those younger people get older, and how it affects society and so on. And so on. So, in terms of your actual research, I mean, how did you sort of get into that and get involved in your interest in that area?
Well, basically, I first started this research from I think early last year, after listening to myradio, actually, and I found out that it's quite influential, especially in Hong Kong politics, because teenagers especially, actually discuss about political issues on the forum, and I think it really gives me an impression that internet is starting to change how people, especially how teenagers, look at politics, and that actually made me look more deeply into the mass media structure in Hong Kong, and I started reading about different scholars propose their arguments on mass media control through government or through big businesses, that they actually manufacture consent. That's a book, Manufacturing Consent, actually written by Noam Chomsky by the 1992, something like that. And
he's been around for ages, isn't he? That thinker. He's got seems for 60 years he's been writing books, and he's still alive, isn't he?
Yes.
And Matt, I think he